Yes, President Crackler,
Here.
Vice President Latakia,
Here.
Trustee Borman, Trustee Brueggemann,
Here.
Trustee Ellis,
Here.
Trustee Ellithorpe, Trustee Emeka,
Here.
Trustee Culligan, Trustee Wojtovich,
Here.
Student Representative McPhee, Student Representative Thompson.
All right, will you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? All right, we don't have any minutes to approve, so could I get a motion to accept tonight's agenda as presented? Connie, could I get a second? John Ellis, any discussion? All in favor? That is, looks like 7, Natalia, 7-0. Motion passes. All right, that brings us to public comment. There were no sign-ups. Is there anyone who wishes to address the board publicly? Okay, we'll move on from that, and brings us right into board committee reports. Do we have any board committee reports? John and then Dean. John Brueggemann.
Policy committee met last Monday, and there are 2 policies and a policy regulation included in the consent agenda for your consideration for a first reading. So we will be, we may need to talk about them if we want to, but we will be voting on them to approve them at the next meeting.
Dean.
Thanks, Tony. Property Committee met on Monday evening, and Bill McMorty presented to us the update on the Legacy Capital Project Phase 4. It's in the construction document phase. This encompasses primarily the work at Division Street and Caroline Streets, with an emphasis of work being done on the rooftops of both of those. The one discussion point that we did have was based upon the estimates that were received prior, so a while ago, on the roofing. I can speak also from personal experience in my job. Roofing costs on labor and materials has gone through the roof. So there was a recommendation that we take a look at a rate lock opportunity, which is through a national bid process. And the estimate on that currently is to save some substantial amounts of money. I don't have the exact dollar amount in front of me, but it's tens and tens of thousands of dollars. So the Property Committee recommended that that is the direction that we should head. It would be with the company that's currently been awarded the bid to do the work here at the high school starting with the last day of school. So it's not like it's going to be with somebody that the district is not familiar with. It will be with, I'll call them a preferred vendor. And Bill will also work on obtaining kind of a protection agreement based on warranties and things like that with respect to the material costs that we end up getting for those 2 elementary school buildings. Other than that, was pretty much the update that we had from Bill.
So the cost went through the roof. I see what you did there.
Did you like that?
Dad joke 101? Yeah.
Nobody picked up on that either.
Okay. We get to, sorry, any other board committee reports? I don't think so. Student representative reports. Kate and Ryan.
All right. So at the primary level, last week, Lake Ave hosted the annual science fair. 63 students from grades 3 to 5 participated in creating 36 amazing projects. Their work was incredible. The 4th and 5th grade spelling bee was held last week. Cooper Niels will be moving to the BOCES Regional Spelling Bee to represent Lake Ave. First graders held their Lovey's Ladies Tea to honor the special women in their lives. Their students performed for the lovely ladies and then joined them in the classroom for some treats. Students are loving field trips. Last week, second graders visited the Old Bryan Inn. This week, fifth graders went to the Little Spa Theater for a ballet performance. At Geyser Road, on April 28th, Arbor Day, all of Geyser Road participated in planting a beautiful crab apple tree with the DPW. The Geyser Road PTO celebrated our teachers and nurses last week in appreciation of their hard work, dedication, and passion to their profession and to the students. And they were a recipient of the lunch today from Cardonas Market, who held a drawing in appreciation of teachers, and Geyser Road was the lucky winners. Their annual color run is taking place Saturday, May 20th. Students have been attending field trips. First grade went to 4-H, second grade went to the Old Bryan Inn, and fifth grade went to the ballet. At Dorothy Nolan would like to extend a huge thank you to the staff and volunteers that made their book fair and art show a huge success. They're looking forward to their HSA Spring Carnival that will include free events and fun for all. Grade levels are having a lot of fun with special events, field trips, and other spring happenings. At Division Street Elementary had an amazing art show. The halls were transformed with beautiful works of art. The large display cases were made into an aquarium for all of the students' sea life projects. The student projects came alive with the lights and other effects. They want to thank Mrs. Spector, the students, and the volunteers for doing a great job. And at Caroline Street, on Friday the 19th and Saturday the 20th, they have their musical production, Willy Wonka. The students have been practicing for months, and they cannot wait to see the show. The fifth grade is going to Camp Chinchacook on Monday, the 22nd.
All right, then at Maple Avenue, the entire Maple Avenue student body signed the No Place for Hate pledge and have committed to treating each other with kindness. Another shout out to the student planning committee for the No Place for Hate assemblies. They did a phenomenal job. The faculty and staff are very pleased to announce that Maple Avenue will be recognized as a No Place for Hate school in early June. At the high school, Chamber Orchestra traveled to Williamsburg, Virginia in April to compete in Music in the Parks. They won first in their category and won best overall score. The high school is currently showcasing student artwork in the lobby and outside of the auditorium. The senior class officers are busy planning the senior ball and senior week. They are also currently holding a car wash with Hoffman's until Father's Day. 50% of the earnings will go back to the senior class. The junior class officers are also busy finishing up details for their prom, which is this upcoming Saturday. The class of 2025 is running a kids' night out for some of the younger students in the district. This will be on June 2nd at the high school. The class of 2026 sold water bottles to students last week to begin their fundraising for next year. Springfest is scheduled for June 9th. This will feature good old-fashioned field day games for our high schoolers, bouncy houses, and a student-made band inside of the gym for anybody looking to get out of the heat. Clubs will have the opportunity to sell food or drinks and advertise their activities to gain enrollment for next year. And playoff season has begun. Our girls lacrosse team will compete in semifinals tomorrow against Shen, and the boys will compete in their first sectional game against Guilderland. The boys will be playing the first sectional game at our home turf in 5 years. That's it.
Thank you both. Brings us to administrative reports. Mike.
First, I want to start off by thanking our entire community for their support in approving our school budget yesterday. So thank you to everybody, all the community members who took the time out of their day to vote on the school budget, our bus bond proposition, as well as our candidates for the Board of Education. I also want to thank all 5 candidates who dedicated a tremendous amount of time and effort in running for our trustee seats here on the Board of Education. Congratulations to both Angie and Tony for a re-election to the board. And also congratulations to Beth Braxton, who will be joining our governance team on July 1st. So again, thank you to the Board of Education, to all of our bargaining unit members throughout the year in developing the budget, all the time and the effort and the conversation that goes in to that process each year. And we truly appreciate the support that we receive for our community to continue to maintain the outstanding levels of program, services, and opportunities for our students here in the district. We got some kudos to both of our student representatives on the Board of Education. So this is a special week for both Ryan and Kate. On Monday night, Natalia and Michelle Sal and myself joined Ryan and his parents at the Saratoga County School Boards Association dinner meeting on Monday night at the Holiday Inn, where Ryan was recognized for his community service here in Saratoga Springs. So Ryan had a chance to speak to the audience and did a wonderful job, and with his plans to head up to University of Vermont to study public health policy. So congratulations to Ryan. So tomorrow night is Kate's turn. So Angie and myself and Michelle again will be attending the Adirondack Area School Boards Association dinner meeting with Kate, and your parents can be able to attend. Awesome. So again, we look forward to celebrating Kate and 31 other seniors. That'll be a bigger event. This past week was just our Saratoga County school districts that Ryan attended. And this next one, Adirondack, includes a larger group of school districts for students to be celebrated at the Queensbury Hotel tomorrow night. So congratulations to both Ryan and Kate. So prior to the start of the business meeting tonight, we had the incredible opportunity to celebrate 27 of our district retirees. So these were folks who have retired from the school district from pretty much this time last year after our celebration last June, right through the course of the school year. So several folks have retired already and are already enjoying retirement, and then many others are planning for retirement at the end of the school year. So congratulations again to all of our district employees who've dedicated their entire professional careers to serving our students here in the school district, and we're very happy for them. We're going to miss them. We wish them a happy, healthy retirement, and I always offer them up the opportunity that anytime they want to come back and visit or help us out as substitutes, they are more than willing to do so. So congratulations to all of our retirees. And then finally, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kate, so next Thursday, June 1st, is Senior Give Back Day, right? Is that the right date? And that's just a wonderful tradition here in Saratoga Springs that each year our senior class spreads out throughout the entire community for their Senior Give Back Day. It's a great tradition for our students to be able to do some community service and give back to the community that obviously where they were raised and educated. And so I want to thank all the teachers and the administrators and the students who do an incredible job organizing the event. And so it's really impressive how much work can get done in one day throughout the community. So fingers crossed that we have good weather and they'll have a lot of opportunity to get out and do really good work for the Saratoga Springs community. So Senior Give Back Day next Thursday, June 1st. All right, so it's my pleasure now. We have just one formal presentation tonight. And again, want to start off by taking this opportunity to thank, there's 40 members of our District Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Committee who really have dedicated their time and energy and efforts for the last several years in helping us move our school district forward in really important conversations about celebrating all of our students, recognizing the diversity of our school community, and making sure that we're creating safe and welcoming environments for all of our students. And so the folks that you're going to hear from tonight represent a variety of the subcommittees from our district DEI committee, from our students, the support staff, community members, parents, as well as educators in the district, who again have done just an incredible job setting goals for themselves and putting actions together. So tonight will be an opportunity for the board and the community to hear about some of the initiatives that have been in place this year that will continue to move forward as we continue this important work moving ahead. So it's my pleasure to introduce Arissa Galani. Arissa is one of our high school student representatives who's been serving on our DEI committee for several years. She's going to be our master of ceremonies. So she's going to kick us off with the presentation. So I'll turn it over to Arissa.
Hi, my name is Arissa Galani. I'm a ninth grader at the high school, and I serve on the policy and the student subcommittee at the high school. So there's a list of panelists, well, a list of representatives, rather, that you're going to be hearing from tonight. So enjoy. Sorry. Oh. This is all of the subcommittees that you're going to be hearing from tonight. So I'll hand it off to the Family Engagement and Communications.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jessie Altman, and I'm a teacher at Maple Ave Middle School, and I serve my time on the Family Engagement and Communications Committee. And this year, we've had a couple goals that we've been working on. The first goal we worked on is welcoming new families to the district. And this goal really came out of the belief that having a connection right away at a new school helps families feel connected and excited and just feel like they're part of the community right away. And to help get there, we are trying to create a parent guardian mentor program and share that out with schools and parent organizations. So what that would look like is we would pair a current family member with one of our new families joining our school district. Mentor families would serve as a point of contact for questions and are also just a familiar face to see at school events. Through our work, we've learned that Lake Avenue actually has a similar program to what we were thinking. And so through working with them and some of their coordinators, we've learned how to kind of align our goals and use what we learned to draft a model that outlines steps to kickstart something like this off for all of our buildings. So far, we have drafted some ideas and listed out some basic steps and tips for new mentors. And part of our current process right now is that we're working on how to implement this and get this off the ground to hopefully have some sort of this really be present in our schools. Because ultimately, our hope is that we really want families that come and join our district to really have a sense of connection and ultimately just feel like they belong in our district right away. And then I'm going to invite Maura up to speak on our second goal.
Our second goal was to raise awareness and celebrate our students' diverse experiences. We realize that our families and community members play a really important role in promoting and modeling inclusion and being aware of our efforts in terms of diversity, equity, inclusion. So as a committee, we discussed the idea that we wanted to hold an event. We wanted to invite our families and community members into our building to hear from our students and really to learn about the work that we've been doing in this area. So on April 26th, we held a Student Voices event, and this event was a panel event with, I guess, sort of a student showcase of our No Place for Hate work. So we had 8 amazing panelists speak at that event. And actually, if the clicker's here, if we can go back to those pictures. Oh. So these are some pictures from the event. You'll see we had 8 amazing student panelists who shared how they're involved in our schools and how they work to promote inclusion within their school buildings. It was middle and high school students. And we also they also just really shared why inclusion is important to them. You know, why creating that sense of belonging benefits all students and how it really benefits everyone. So after that, all 8 of our school buildings had a table to showcase their No Place for Hate work. They've all been working really hard to promote inclusion and stop bullying and promote a positive school environment within their school buildings. So we wanted to give our students a chance to share. So we were really proud of how that event, and we also asked attendees to sign a community pledge. That's not a requirement for the No Place for Hate designation, but that's a step we really wanted to offer our community to invite them to be engaged in this work, knowing that they're a really powerful part of this work being successful in our school community. So we had almost 200 attendees at the event, and we were really happy with it. So we hope that people who attended really saw the excitement from our students and want to be a part of our equity and inclusion events moving forward. I'll turn it back over to the next subcommittee.
So now I'm going to hand it over to our Curriculum Instruction and Professional Learning Committee.
Good evening, everyone. I'm speaking on behalf of our Curriculum Instruction and Professional Learning Subcommittee. One of our other subcommittee members is here, Rebecca Pepino. We wanted to talk about two of the goals that our subcommittee worked on. The first one is a continuation of a goal that we started last year, which was to identify and review Board of Ed policies that were most relevant to curriculum and instruction for alignment with the culturally responsive and sustaining framework, which is that picture of the tree that has a welcoming and affirming environment, high standards and rigor and professional learning for all. So those are the areas that we focused on. So there were 6 different policies that we reviewed, and it took last year and this year, and Angie Emeka is here as well as part of that subcommittee. Sorry, Angie. And so we reviewed them through a culturally responsive lens and wrote annotations next to it and had discussions. And then the next piece was to take it to different groups already established within the district that typically would work on such policies for input, such as the Professional Learning Committee, the Curriculum Council, in which teachers are members as well, other small groups such as librarians, and then any tweaks or suggestions or clarifications, these policies would go to the Board of Education Policy Committee. So we will have 2 of those policies reviewed before the end of this year through that lens with the Board of Ed Policy Committee. And it's just for clarity on book challenges and library selection of materials. So, and all of that work is to create that safe environment for teachers and promote that welcoming and affirming environment. And then the second piece, we had agreed that what we were hearing was teachers were looking for quality vetted materials to use. And I'm happy to say that the teachers themselves rose to that occasion. There's been a lot of sharing across the district, and our librarians in particular have also cultivated spots on their websites which are easily accessible. So we have shared out those links on a monthly basis. But then also in April, New York State Education Department has informed us that they're creating a repository for DEI materials. So we are looking at that, that organization and how they are going to share that out because of the vetting process they are using there too. So that one is still in progress. Okay, I'll turn it over.
Next, you will be hearing from a representative from the Welcoming and Affirming Environment.
I actually just snuck out. I'm Marina Hughes. I teach at Dorothy Nolan, 3rd grade, and I'm part of the Welcoming and Affirming Environment Subcommittee. And this is our ally poster. This was student created, and you'll see them hanging in the halls. Just borrowed one off that hall, the hallway. And there's a QR code on here that can be scanned by the student, which brings them to a slideshow with the allies in the building, as well as what it means to be an ally and what they can expect from the program. And I think as a committee, we're super proud of the ally program because it did come from the students and what the students wanted and needed in the school. Rolled out with a student-led presentation In April of this year, after the idea began to take shape about 2 years ago through this subcommittee. The program grew from student voices indicating the desire to feel heard, listened to about challenges they face in our schools, as well as building a rapport with a safe adult. The adults in the middle and high school buildings who have committed to being allies or a supportive resource for students and promote a safe and inclusive environment. These allies are advocates, trusted resources, and most importantly, listeners. Our plan moving forward will be to analyze the data related to the Ally program, as well as provide support for our allies, which will continue to improve and expand the program. I'm going to pass it over to Jen for our survey.
Hi, I'm Jenna Alexander. I'm a parent in the district, and we last year, May 2022, we issued a survey for grades 3 through 12. The elementary school, and it was about culture and climate. The elementary school survey was a little bit different than the older kids to be more age appropriate. So what we did was, within the survey, students self-identified within different categories, and they were gender categories, and there were race and ethnicity categories as well when they answered the questions. And what we did over the last several months was broken down those categories, those subsets into data, and we discovered a few different trends. Raina's going to be passing you out the subset breakdown. Just keep in mind that those are percentages of students that agree with the statements at the top of the sheet, so you can get to see what those questions were for the students, and that's for middle and high school, not the elementary school. So on a positive note, one of the trends that we noticed was that the students' ratings for the following statements were consistently higher than other statements. They stated they had a lot of chances to be part of class discussions or activities. If they were absent, there was a teacher or adult who would notice their absence, and they had a trusted staff member to talk to at school. So those are all really wonderful things. Within these categories and across the data, we also noticed a concerning trend. As you look at the subset groups overall that are not male and white, you will see a trend of students feeling less safe, less included, and less represented in course materials. Additionally, the majority of the students did not feel that they respected one another, and that was something that really, really stood out to us. In terms of the gender categories, students in the genderqueer, non-binary, and gender-neutral categories showed significant percentage differences from other gender categories across the board, and extremely low percentages for feelings of safety, inclusion, and representation. Females in the high school do feel less safer than their male peers, but in the middle school was about equal. Males also perceive less discrimination in all categories across the board than their gender peers. In terms of race and ethnicity, that subset breakdown, biracial, multiracial, and Black students in the race and ethnicity category feel the least safe and least sense of belonging. One of the other trends that we noticed was that, and this was really from elementary to middle to high school, is that things got a little bit, I guess, perspectives were a little bit worse in terms of feelings of safety and inclusion and all those things as they get older. But on a positive note to end this, at the elementary school, the only concern the kids really had was having more friends, and they loved their teachers and they loved their schools. And while some of these things aren't always the best, it's really good that we have this information and we can take a look at it and see where we can improve, where we can better serve our students, and also continue to do what we're doing really well. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next subcommittee that you're going to be hearing from is hiring and retention.
Hello, everyone. I'm Mike, and in my role, I assist the recruiting strategy for the district. I do want to start off by saying that our goals were kind of ongoing. It's not something for us that we could check off. It's more letting everyone know that it's going towards long-term success. So let's hit the ground running. For the increasing recruitment and outreach, I participated in various career fairs throughout the state of New York. Some colleges included Siena College, College of St. Rose, Queens College, Brooklyn College, UAlbany, Pace University, Iona University, SUNY Binghamton, SUNY Brockport, SUNY New Paltz, Columbia University, Adelphi University, St. John Fisher University, Nazareth College, Alfred College, and several teacher-specific recruitment fairs. I believe this is probably the first time we've gone to so many, but for us, there's still more to be done because I've noticed a few challenges within the recruiting process that we as a committee is going to kind of go over. At the same time, while I was at these colleges, I was kind of creating connections with career services teams, the departments, and as well as the School of Education, making the schools aware of our school district so that they could send their students our way. Another thing that we looked at was the overall hiring process. One of the things we focused on was adding bias training within the process. All committee members are required to take training for bias, and bias kind of talks about avoiding bias in regards of implicit bias as well as confirmation bias, and also celebrating diversity. So the kind of overall objective is to look for candidates that kind of complement our strengths and enhance our strengths rather than looking for individuals that duplicate what we already have. Also, one of the things that was a result of this is that certain administrators asked candidates questions regarding cultural responsive instruction as well as social and emotional learning. We've also partnered with the Communications Committee in regards of representing diversity to attract diversity. We've created several marketing materials to use within our recruiting process to showcase the diversity that we do have. Things such as Best Buddies, Unified Sports, No Place for Hate that you're going to learn about later on today. But it also acknowledges that although we're still doing this work, there's still more that needs to be done. And then lastly, in regards of the retention of employees, one of the things we did as a committee was we read a book, Culture of Love by Dr. Lavelle Brown, who is the superintendent at Ithaca City School District. And what he talks about in his book was creating a culture of love, and that is a culture where individuals feel safe, supported, and connected. And he believes, and he provided strategies on how one could achieve that. And two things that kind of stood out to me was fostering positive relationships between students, staff, teachers, administrators, and the overall community, and creating a sense of belonging through inclusive practices that celebrate diversity. Through that, creating that sense of belonging, we had conversations regarding creating an ERG group, or an ERG, which stands for Employee Resource Groups. There's also affinity groups. There's different variations of the title. But pretty much it's a group that brings together individuals who share common backgrounds and interests to provide a platform to foster inclusivity and create a positive and supportive work environment. We met with Letitia Barnett, who is the Chief Equity Officer at Niskayuna, and she kind of shared with us some strategies on how to start an ERG in a school district setting, and also shared with us some things to keep in mind that could have potential downfalls. And lastly, implementing an ERG group in our school district would provide numerous benefits, including promoting diversity, equity, and inclusion, improving employee engagement and retention, and supporting diversity recruitment efforts. Thank you.
Next, you will be hearing from the student middle school.
I am speaking for middle school. So this year we really took our DEI group, the kids took it and they rolled it into our No Place for Hate, because they were just a natural fit for that. And they worked really hard on setting that up and moving that forward. I was incredibly fortunate that Jesse Altman was able to take over the 6th grade group, and those kids have come up with some amazing ideas, and so as the 7th and 8th graders, they've been amazing. So next year, we're trying to determine, are we going to keep DEI just as no place for hate, or are we going to continue with the DEI group as more of a support conversation, safe space to talk, which is what it started off as. I do have a student who talked about what it was that he felt. I asked him what his experience was in our DEI group. So I would rather you hear from them. I think that pretty much sums it up.
Thank you, Ms. Totino. Next, we're going to be hearing from our student representatives from the high school and my favorite subcommittee.
Hi there. So in April, we had a panel of staff and students each share a positive or negative story about their personal experiences with inclusivity in our district. The event was entirely student-led and organized. In order to involve more students in the planning process, we collaborated with representatives of many of the high school clubs. We formed a committee called Club to do this. So we've been kind of working under that. And the students involved in the planning felt it was really important to keep it student-led and organized and stuff like that, because we felt that something peer-led like this would be the most impactful way of doing the event. Our goals of the event were to help students gain empathy for others through hearing their peers' stories, especially because you might hear perspectives that you wouldn't normally see, and things like that. And then spread awareness about the resources that are available for you if you're ever in need. And we did this through our rollout of the Ally program that we kind of incorporated into the event, since it kind of fit the overall theme of it, and they paired really well together.
As far as the Ally program, she kind of just touched on it a little bit. Our main goal this year, I'd say, was working closely with the Welcoming and Affirming Committee to really just roll out the Ally program and have students aware of what it was, what resources they had, and where they could go if they needed help. Eventually, we decided to go to the No Place for Hate Assembly to roll out the Ally program. I know Raina showed the logo earlier, but like she said, that logo was made by a middle schooler on the DEI subcommittee, so I thought that was pretty cool. And so far, from teachers' point of view, they say that the Ally program has been going solid, and it's allowing students to feel safer. So that's pretty much all I have.
So this year, we prioritized No Place for Hate event, but moving forward, we'd like to make a plan to prioritize the communication between the administration and students. We plan to set up a regular meeting with Dr. Patton and the administration to give the students a direct line of contact to them.
Thank you. Our next subcommittee is the Policy and Progress Monitoring.
Hey, I'm Deirdre Chukro, and I'm one of the members of the Policy and Progress Monitoring. And while we're responsible for this presentation, I keep kicking myself because we always go after the kids, and that's not where you want to be. Because they're such an asset, and I can say personally what a pleasure it's been to work with Arissa on this committee. They are not just silent observers. The kids that are sitting on these committees are actively participating. I'm going off script, I'm sorry. Are active participants, review everything that we go over, provide feedback, and really important commentary. And I think that's just such an asset and says so much about the district. So thanks, guys. I'm going to start us off by talking about something that we really wanted to accomplish this year, and I'm pleased to say we did get it done. It was very important to the policy committee that the diversity and equity inclusion policy that was passed by the board became implemented in the way that it was intended to be. And one of the things that we recognized is that that document can be a little bit cumbersome. And sometimes it just makes life a little bit easier if you have a one-page sheet that you can refer to when you are looking at terms of art, specific definitions that are intended to be used as part of your process in their daily work when the diversity and equity and inclusion lens is supposed to be used in terms of specific items. And so what we ended up creating was a one-page glossary of some terms. Very, very simple and basic, that if you are attending one of these meetings, you can just have in front of you as an ability to understand a particular term, and so that everyone in the district is looking at the same document. So that was one of the things that was a goal that we were able to accomplish. What we also did was ask that those I'm going out of order. So we also asked and encouraged and provided some, and encouraged, and it has happened, that those equity lens questions also get added to those documents that are served in that meeting. So there's a series, is it 4 questions? 5 questions, see? There's 5 questions, and so right at the top of a document, it's right there for you. So we know we need to be considering this. This is perhaps on the agenda or another document that a particular group might be using, and it's right there to make it be part of our forefront. Like, this is something that we should be thinking of when we're participating in that. And so Rebecca's going to give a little bit more insight about that and an example.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Lynch. I'm a parent member of the committee. So like Deidre said, we wanted to create tools so that the DEI equity regulation and policy could be implemented more effectively throughout the district. One of the places that we wanted to start were the BELT teams, the Building Equity and Leadership teams that are in each building. So the plain language glossary has gone out to all of the BELT teams, I believe, for them to start looking at and provide feedback on, so that basically when we're talking about these words and what these concepts, everyone in the district has a shared understanding of what we are referring to. The equity lens questions that are in the regulation are now on all agenda templates for district meetings, for BELT meetings, and for other meetings throughout the district. So that these equity lens questions can be considered, and that decisions that are made that impact students are run through an equity lens, so that it really is part of just district procedure, normal course of business. So we came up with an example of using the equity questions when making a decision or thinking of implementing a program or anything like that, so that the BELTs could have something to go from. So the questions might seem abstract in concept. How do we actually put that into practice? So the example we used were grandparent events. So a lot of elementary schools have, grandparent luncheons, or my kid's school has the grand publishing event for grandparents to come and look at, work kids' writings, examples and stuff like that, which is a great idea, but when we look at it through the equity lens, question number 1, what is the action or policy in question? So grandparent events, luncheon at Caroline Street, the grand publishing event at Division Street as examples. Question 2, what does the data show about the impact of the action on student achievement, opportunity, and climate? So one of the things we thought of is not every student has a grandparent that is able to attend the event. Question 3, if there are disparity gaps between groups of students, why do they exist? So while some students have grandparents who can attend a weekday event in Saratoga Springs, others do not. Some reasons for this would be either the grandparent's not local, maybe the grandparent is at work during the day, the grandparents are deceased, or any number of reasons why they might not be available. Number 4, which individuals are missing in the discussion to address disparities? And it would be families who don't have a grandparent who can attend. So number 5, how will the district mitigate the disparities? Events meant for a special guest who isn't the child's primary guardian should be and could be billed as being for a special guest rather than for a specific relation. So currently in like the flyers and the info, it says if you don't have a grandparent that can attend, you can bring a special adult instead or a special guest. We could just start with special guest and not lead anyone to feel left out or not included in the event. So that was just, a very basic example, but just how to walk through these questions and apply them to events to make sure that each and every student and member of our community feels like they belong. And then our last goal is this presentation, which you are seeing right now. So.
And that brings an end to our presentation. I really hope you enjoyed. And I would like to open the floor to any questions you may have, and I'll direct them to Dr. Patton.
Do we have any questions? Connie?
I had a few questions. Thank you so much for that presentation. You all did a great job. I had a question about the mentor families. I understand that has not been implemented yet. Did I get that detail correct?
We drafted a model on how we think a school could implement it based on what Lake Avenue is currently doing within their school, but we have not yet implemented it. We've talked with some principals and various people within schools to see, their thoughts on it, but it has not yet been implemented.
Okay.
That's sort of where we left off with our next step.
Okay. I was just curious to know, like, what if there was criteria for being a mentor family, like how is it inclusive to people that feel like they may want to step up?
At Lake, it's just volunteer. It's sent out as just an interest. You can sign up to be a volunteer, to mentor.
Okay. And then my next question was about the climate and culture survey. Is that an internal survey, or is that a survey that is some other survey that we administer, like the youth risk survey?
But it was a survey that was done, and I think some of the questions, it was not the year that the youth risk survey was administered, but some of the questions it was designed a little bit around that because it was not supposed to be the year that it was being given out. So the people that were on this subcommittee last year put together that survey. They put together the questions, and I believe some were pulled from, am I explaining that properly? Yeah.
So the survey was from NCBI?
No.
I'm sorry.
The survey was from the subcommittee, the Welcoming and Affirming Subcommittee of the DEI.
Okay, so it was an internal survey, though?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
You, can we get the mic, Michelle?
Yeah, I'm deaf in one ear, so I'm sorry, I can't hear.
It was a BOCES survey that was modeled after a statewide survey, and we lifted some of the questions so that we had apples to apples comparison regarding the data that we collected in the surveys. So the questions were not created by the committee, they were created by an outside organization, and we took some of them.
Okay, thank you. And then I understand one of the goals, which I think is a really great goal, so I was really glad to hear about improved communication between administration and how all of this is being implemented. So I thank you very much for your attention to that. And then my very last question, student achievement was brought up towards the end of the presentation here. and I guess this is open to anybody, but how are we linking our DEI efforts to student achievement? And is that something that we can look at going forward if it's not a current focus? Thank you.
Yes, that has been a lot of the work we've been doing this year, along with Anna Munoz and the book study that's been done with the DHs at the middle school and the high school. And she's been working with the teams at the elementary school this year. So we've been looking at our subgroup data in new lenses, and that data and those conversations are going back to the BELT teams. So yes, we are looking at the achievement of our subgroups and how the impact of the activities we're starting to do down the road. This is sort of that baseline of where do we go next kind of year.
Any other questions or comments? Angie.
I'll give all of these wonderful presenters a break. I'm going to direct this one to you, Dr. Patton. Some of these clearly have goals that are still ongoing, and the work is going to continue. Can you give us an idea of how this is going to move forward next year?
Yep. Obviously, the subcommittee structure has worked really well for us because we have the opportunity to engage so many folks in this work. This year, student engagement has been incredible. And again, one of the efforts to introduce No Place for Hate in our partnership through ADL was to get it at the student level. And so all 8 of our schools have been involved in the efforts this year. So I think as the information that you've heard kind of throughout the year, some of the actionable items that may be a survey-based one year turns into actionable items for the following year. We're excited that as a region, the 31 schools within our BOCES, there's now a regional DEI network, and Saratoga is ahead of a lot of our neighboring school districts. So we're kind of supporting our region in doing a lot of things that Lisa talked about collecting resources, what are the professional development opportunities, what are student engagement opportunities. Our NCBI program has been in place for many, many years in Saratoga Springs, while other districts are interested in learning more about that. And so I think the collaboration between school districts is exciting. Again, how do we help support each other? And again, as a district, the more we look at our data, as the presentation was last board meeting, and you see the performance of our student subgroups and the focus that we've had on Connie's point to academic achievement and to attendance, any of our behavioral statistics, then gives us more information, I think, to analyze and then think about what would next steps be for our DEI committee. You know, ultimately, it's feedback that we get from our students, so I think the student engagement piece and having those ongoing conversations with both our middle school and high school students, especially around culture and climate, and making sure that we're having an impact on creating that welcoming and safe environment for all of our students.
So it will continue in the fall, take a break, or just keep going?
I don't ever see this work really ever finishing.
Okay.
I think we're in this for the long
Great.
haul. Yep.
Okay, wonderful.
Anyone else? John Brueggemann.
Thanks to everybody who presented and the entire committee for all your good work. Mike, I think you might have just been speaking to this, but the data on the handout we got, I think, is so helpful, and there's some stunningly bad numbers here in some cases, which shows, you know, this is analytical, and it shows we've got a lot of work to do. When I look at a particular number that's troubling, I find myself thinking, what's going on there? So my hope is that there's some then step to drill down on any given number, and I think that's what you just said, right? And then more generally, you know, this kind of information has to be contextualized, and you know, the fact that our district is actually out front in some ways and yet has serious issues, but I think like students and staff ought to know that there are lots of folks in our district that aren't having the experience we want them to have. And I wonder what the attempt is, what the plan is for helping everybody, students and employees, to understand that this is happening and that we have good data now.
And again, that's, I think, built into the professional development, the follow-up, the instructional conversations about what is instruction and teaching and learning look like in the classroom, and then from a culture perspective of how we're helping support students in these specific subgroups with intervention support, additional counseling. So again, this is 1 year's worth of data. I think we have to repeat and again, offer culture and climate surveys at least every other year for students. And then we'll have some longitudinal data to see, okay, what areas are we seeing improvement as a result of efforts, and then where are those gaps? Where are those areas that we still need to put effort in to address any challenges that we're facing?
I just want to add one thing. It's complementary to what several of you have said. And touches on what John just mentioned, that the students respecting one another section of this uniformly got the lowest marks, and I think that while that's something that John pointed out and we've agreed is a place we need to work on and a negative point in this survey, I do want to point positively that I think that examples of student engagement tonight and throughout the DEI work and throughout a lot of the things I've seen just this spring here at the school, I think they present the best possible solution to the problem of students respecting one another. When we have, to what Mike said, we have student engagement on committees, on DEI and other committees, when we have within the DEI committee, we heard about student allies tonight. The middle school student in the video talked about kids listening more to other kids. I think when you want to build respect among one another, that's where we have to start. And the fact that No Place for Hate was organized by the kids, the assemblies, I think it's encouraging. And we always get better results and sit up and listen more, to Deirdre's point, following, when it's students and student voices leading. So kudos to the process that is developing student voice more, because it's an essential part of maturation and growth in education, and it's key to what we're trying to do here. Thank you. Any others? All right. Thank you very much.
Yes,
for that
kudos to the entire committee. Great job. I do want to point out, next Friday, June 2nd, will be our first opportunity as a district to be able to participate in the Anti-Defamation League's annual banner presentation. So several of our schools have earned the designation within the first year, so we'll have representatives from each of the schools. Is that 2 weeks? I'm sorry, June 2nd is in 2 weeks, okay. But we'll have representatives, student representatives, staff representatives from our schools down at Proctor's Theater in Schenectady for the Banner Awards, which is a great celebration for all of our efforts on behalf of our students and our staff.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the consent agenda. For those in attendance or watching, a consent agenda is a commonly used vehicle provided for by our adopted rules of parliamentary procedure, Robert's Rules, that allows a board to vote on a large number of items in a single motion. Typically, these are business items associated with the everyday running of the schools, and their inclusion in the agenda is the result of a great deal of prior work and care by the professionals of the district. There are, from time to time, business items that by law cannot be included in a consent agenda, and when this happens, we pull those out and vote on them separately. Consent agenda items are known to trustees and the public several days ahead of the business meeting on which they are considered, so that board members have the chance to ask questions of discovery and do any advanced fact-finding that is part of their due diligence process. Natalia, are there any modifications to tonight's consent agenda?
Just one. We have a recommendation that the Board of Education adopt the resolution on the canvas of the vote from last night. So I make a motion that
we approve the consent agenda items G, H, and I in their entirety, along with the modifications.
Can I get a second? John Brueggemann. Is there any discussion? Okay, all in favor? That is all 7-0, motion carries. And that brings us to our second public comment period. Is there any member of the public who wishes to address the board at this time? All right. Agenda planning. Board members, any agenda planning items that you want to bring up at this time? Seeing none, we'll move into board member comments. Anybody want to make some comments? We're in a very non-loquacious mood tonight. That will move us to executive session. At this time, I'd like a motion to enter executive session to discuss negotiations. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong one. My fault. That was last week's. Bear with me here. Could I get a motion to enter executive session to discuss negotiations with collective bargaining units and to discuss matters leading to the employment of particular persons? John Brueggemann, second. Angie, any discussion? Connie. Sorry about that. Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, motion carries and we are moving into executive session. Thank you.